Coming up next on Power for Living with Bishop Dale C. Brunner.
It's not a matter of if you will ever experience chaos in your life, it's whether you will learn to release peace like Jesus did. Because you have the ability to put the fire out, and it's in your mouth. There's a miracle right under your nose. It's in your mouth.
This is Bishop Dale Brunner. I want you to know that God is a unique God in that He can sometimes give you little and then breathe on it and make much out of it. We have to trust that even when you just have a little, it's like a seed. Everything that comes in the kingdom of God operates on a seed principle, something that is so little. And that's why we are told, don't despise the day of small beginning. The mighty oak begins as a tiny seed. Plant it, water it, and trust God to give the increase, because God specializes in making something great out of something ever so small. Get ready for your increase.
We're talking today from the subject, the power of proximity. The power of proximity. He's telling us, come close to God and He'll come close to you. You make a move toward Him, He'll make the move toward you, and you'll find yourself in close proximity with Him. Just to be in His presence is an incredible gift. We end up marrying people and becoming friends with people and going into business with people and partnering with people who are in our proximity. If people don't know you, sometimes the reason that they don't use you is because they don't know you. People hire who they know, they date who they know or who they're trying to know, but it's because in some way you were in their proximity. And so this is the same idea that Naomi had when she dealt with her daughter-in-law, Ruth, and she had to tell Ruth, get away from here, there's nothing here, and I want you to go over there to Boaz's field and glean in his field. Go over there and go grocery shopping. It wasn't telling her to go over there so that she could see Boaz, but it was so that Boaz could see her. She was saying to her, sweetheart, there's nothing here. You need to get down into the proximity of where there is something so that you can be discovered. You have to put yourself in a place where you can be discovered. And she was just saying, get in the proximity. Just get in the atmosphere. If you don't have a job, go and get dressed up and go into the place where people who are looking for folks would happen to be. Don't wait for them to come to you. You go out to them. Get in the atmosphere. Everything happens in an atmosphere. Everything. And so you just need to be close to it. You need to be close to it so that something good can happen for you. So get in the proximity of that, because we do business with those people that are close to us, those people that we know. It is interesting, Amos chapter 3 and verse 3 says this, do two people ever walk together without first meeting? And here's the implication, is that two people cannot walk together except it be by divine appointment. And you really don't want people in your life if God has not appointed them. You want to be able to do business with people. You want to be able to have folks that will have relationship with you that God has divinely appointed. It's not a coincidence. This is a divine appointment. You know, I realize that sometimes the people that have shifted areas of my life, God planted me in their vicinity. He just planted me there. He planted me right there in the vicinity. He planted me in proximity to somebody that was connected to my destiny, or I was connected to their destiny. He planted me in their vicinity, and we discovered each other. Can two people ever walk together except it be by divine appointment? That when God has divinely appointed somebody for your life, you'll be able to live with them. You'll be able to work with them. You'll be able to grow with them. You'll be able to build with them. You'll be able to go through ups and downs and the hurts of life with them. You don't want somebody that just looks good. You want somebody that is good for you by divine appointment, because God has appointed this person. You recognize readily when God has sent somebody and when the devil has sent somebody. Can two walk together except they be in agreement by divine appointment? There's a blessing to be able to have somebody where this is not a coincidence, but you realize God calls this hookup. I mean, a good lookup is a good hookup. I'm just telling you, if you just ever get connected to God, God will hook you up with somebody that will bless your life like nobody's business. I'm telling you, they will make you better. And that's all. The litmus test is when God brings a gift into your life, they make you better. They make you better. Just ask yourself, have I gotten better or worse since knowing this person? It's a terrible thing. You start dating somebody and all of a sudden you go into depression. I mean, it ought to be a hookup. It ought to be a lookup. It ought to be, it ought to be on a road up. You ought to get better. Just ask yourself, am I better or worse since meeting this person? That's how you'll know if it's a gift from God. That's how you'll know. But God brings us by bringing us into proximity with people that He has divinely appointed for us. God set it up. So there you were in the store. There you were in a parking lot. There you were sitting on a bus, sitting on a train, sitting on a plane next to somebody. You'd be surprised. You're not that far away from wherever you really want to be or where you need to be. God has placed you in circles for a reason. He's placed you in circles for a reason. And so we end up marrying people and working with or being friends with somebody who lives in our neighborhood, somebody who attends our school, somebody who works at our place of employment, somebody who shares a mutual passion or hobby with us, somebody that attends our place of worship, somebody who works out in our fitness facility, somebody that hangs out with somebody that we know, somebody that we encounter through a divine appointment. But we end up coming into critical relationship and being friends with people that are in our proximity, in our neighborhood. They go to school with us. They work at the same place. They work out at the same place. They go and shoot ball at the same place. You find these connections. They play golf on the same course and at the same tennis court. And that's how you end up meeting. You eat at the same restaurant. It's a proximity that God brings you into, and then things begin to go from there. And then there's this thing called the law of the inner circle. The law of the inner circle says that those closest to you will determine your destiny. They determine your potential. If you show me your friends, I'll show you your future. If you show me your friends, I'll show you your future. This is the law of the inner circle. Because if you get around other people that are taking care of their physicality, it encourages you to make better choices when you go out to eat. And if you with the folks that's got an unhealthy diet, you order the unhealthy stuff. You know, when you're with people that take care of their finances, you begin to make better financial choices. I'm just telling you, you will be surprised how influenced you are by the people that are in your inner circle. These are the 3 or the 4 or the 5 people that are closest to your life. They determine your level of success. Every time that God gets ready to shift your life to another level, you don't just get shifted because time passes. Trust me on that. It's not time. God brings a relationship into your life. Jesus will touch a person and says, follow me. But he's like, when I tell you to follow me, he's like, when you get ready to roll with me, your life is getting ready to shift. You getting ready to come up. Your life will be the same. Your life, hear me carefully, will be the same 10 years from now, except for the people that you meet. The people that you meet, the books that you read, and the experiences that you have. And I'm telling you, if you don't meet somebody else, when God gets ready to shift your life, He lets you meet somebody. I cannot tell you, it's not a coincidence if one of my reels or videos popped up on your timeline. If that's how you got introduced to the ministry. No. That wasn't a coincidence. It wasn't a coincidence if you stumbled across me on television or drove through Atlanta and saw one of my billboards. It was not a coincidence. It was because there was something in destiny that God wanted you to be able to hear so that it would add value to your life and shift you into another level of thinking, because where you sit determines what you see and how you think. And that's why proximity is so important. It is so incredibly important where you are, the proximity that God places you in your life. Proximity determines expected perfection. And that's why Jesus invites us and says, follow me. He invites us into a relationship that is a discipleship, but more specifically, it is an apprenticeship. It's an apprenticeship. It's a place where you're learning by doing, and you're learning by being in proximity of the person who is the master. That's what you're learning. A disciple is not merely a learner or a student. A disciple is an apprentice. They're an apprentice. It's on the job training where you learn to do by doing, and you realize that more is caught than taught because you are in that relationship. When he invites you into discipleship, into apprenticeship, he's saying, take my yoke upon you and learn of me. That's that apprenticeship again. Learn of me, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. You see, it was the custom there that when you had a young ox, you put the young, smaller ox in a yoke that put the two together with a big, strong ox. And as he just simply moved, when the big ox moved and walked to be able to graze, and when he bent down to graze, because both of their heads were in the same yoke, if the smaller ox didn't bend, when the big one bent, it would break his neck. So when he bent down, it was telling him, now it's time for you to eat. When he rose up, he says, now it's time for you to get up, because if I get up, he said, your neck getting ready to be broken. So you will learn, he says, get in my yoke with me and learn of me. You're learning not only his pace, but you're also learning his presence. And let me just say this to you. God is so much more concerned, more with your keeping pace with him than staying in proximity with his presence. We're supposed to stay in proximity with the presence of the Lord. You remember the children of Israel? God sat on them. It was a pillar of cloud by day, but a pillar of fire by night. The secret of the cloud, the manna only fell underneath the cloud. You had to be in proximity of the cloud to get the blessing in order to eat. The quail only fell underneath the cloud. That's why, and so when God would move, they had to move. But there were times that the cloud would sit in a place for 3 months or 6 months at a time. And as long as they remained under that cloud, they were blessed. So whenever God is going, God is never in a hurry. When he's teaching you, slow down. God says, I want you to learn my presence and not be in a hurry. Stop the disease of hurry. Hurry, listen to me carefully. Read my lips. Hurry is of the devil. It's anxiety. It creates this cortisol in your body. Stress hormones are released. Slow down. Slow down. The slower you go, the faster you learn. The slower you go, the faster you learn. So it's about slowing down, and there were times that cloud just sat for months without ever moving. And God says, you shouldn't be in a hurry as long as you're with my presence. I got everything you need. I have everything you need. And let me tell you, if you're dating somebody, you go out on a date and every 15 minutes they're looking at their watch. You're not a priority for them. They really, something else is on their mind, but it's not you. You better read the signs and saturate the place with your absence. You have to spend time with him just to know him, to learn him, get in the yoke with him. It's about the presence. And I'm telling you, when you fall in love with people, it's not so much about what you do, it's about who you're with. Have you ever found that when you really connect with people, you really enjoy them, you're really feeling each other, you're really learning, gaining something from each other's presence? Time seems to fly. But if you get stuck in a situation with somebody that you really don't care for, I mean, you have to hit your watch to see whether the thing has quit working on you or something. Time slows down when you're with people that get on your nerves. But when you're in proximity with the right one, you can lose track of time. You can talk, you can laugh, and then you wonder, where did the time go? But when you're not feeling chemistry with people, time slows down. And God wants us, you really know that you're in love when you can be satisfied to be in each other's presence and just be enamored. It's not even about what you say. And God is like, I just want you to get to a place where you are comfortable, satisfied, just my looking at you and you're looking at me, just beholding each other in my presence. It's not even about what you say to me or what I say to you. It's that we are together because our spirits are communicating. We are feeling each other, communicating an admiration, a love that words cannot fully articulate. And you wonder, have you ever seen older people, grandparents' age, just together, and I'd see them out to dinner and nobody would be saying anything, but they're having the time of their life. They know each other. They're having a whole conversation without even opening their mouth, but they know each other. Here are 3 storms that you will face in life. You'll face more than these, but I wanted to point out these 3 that were deeply in my heart. The first one is a storm of silence. It is a storm of silence. Anybody who's in a relationship, anybody who's married, you know what a storm of silence feels like. You get upset with somebody and you walk around for 3 days not speaking. That's a storm of silence. When you're in solitary confinement, it's the most harsh of all of the penal institutions is solitary confinement because it puts you in silence. You have nobody to talk to. It is a storm of silence. This is the same situation where Moses was on the backside of Mount Horeb, Mount Sinai, for 40 years. After he left Egypt, he was there for 40 years and heard not one word from God. His life was in transition. Now, when you're in transition more than at any other time, you need to hear a word from God. I mean, if you're in between jobs, you need a word from God. If you're in between careers, you need a word from God. If you just left one house and trying to get situated in another house, you need a word from God. You get out of school and you're trying to figure out what you're going to do in life, you need a word from God. And for 40 years, God didn't open his mouth to Moses. 40 years. Can you survive a storm of silence? Can you survive it when nobody is speaking to you? When you have asked God for direction and God acts like like the line has been disconnected. Can you survive the storm of silence? Do you know what to do with a silent storm? What do you do when you can't hear a word from God? And you know how people are. If you're in a relationship and if they are putting you through the silent treatment, a storm of silence, you would rather be yelled at than for somebody to walk around in silence. And you know that they are really savoring it when they see you fumbling around looking for something, and they'll be saying on the inside of them, saying, look at them, can't even find the shoes, they don't know where the keys are. Look at them, can't even find the glasses, they're having a whole conversation, and look at them with their pitiful self over there. But they won't say anything to you, watching you in a storm of silence. And they know that their silence is causing you pain. What do you do when you can't even hear from God and you deal with a storm of silence? The second one is a storm of separation. The storm of separation. It's not a matter of if you will ever be separated, it's a matter of when and how you're going to handle it. Because at some point, it tears the mother apart, the father, when their child first has to go off to school. You got a little child that can barely walk, and then you send them off to school by themselves, and you crying and they crying. It's a storm of separation. It's when you move out of the house. It's when you go off to college. It's when you get grown and move out into your own place, the storm of separation. That mama's not here anymore, dad is not here. Death is not cessation. Please hear me carefully. Death is not cessation. It doesn't mean that it stops. Death is separation. It's just a storm of separation. When somebody close to you dies, they didn't stop existing. You're just separated from each other. Death is separation. It is separation. It's a storm of separation. How well can you handle a storm of separation? It's very similar to the storm of silence. And even, our animals, our dog could tell when we were getting ready to drop them off of the kennel. They had separation anxiety. They almost just started to run in the opposite direction when they knew that we were getting them in the car to go to be dropped off at a kennel, because they had separation anxiety. And we have that same kind of thing. And so what do you do when you've got separation anxiety? Moses was separated from his Hebrew family into which he was born. Separated. Now he's separated from his people down in Egypt, suffering. And now he's in another place, serving another man's vision, while he's in a storm of separation. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and Daniel were all separated from their Jewish people, from their homeland. They were in exile, separated. Can you handle a storm of separation? Well, you have left the place of familiarity. You've left other relatives, and now you're in the big city all by yourself, doing everything you big and bad enough to do, but you're dealing with a storm of separation. There's a storm of silence. There's a storm of separation, and the third one is a storm of submission. The storm of submission is when somebody carries something for you, but they make it unpleasant to get because the teacher is harsh. And so now you got to submit to a mean boss on a job. Even when you think that you're an entrepreneur, you're your own boss. But even when you're your own boss, you got to report to IRS. Oh, you got some other government regulations. You really don't really get to be free just because you're an entrepreneur. Let me just tell you the truth about it. Anybody who is an entrepreneur, you'll realize you'll end up working harder for yourself than you ever work for anybody else. Your hours will be longer because you realize that if I don't work, I don't eat. You understand that better than anybody. And when you got the pressure to meet payroll and to try to help somebody else stay, you got a pressure on you and you feel like you don't have anybody to answer to. You got everybody to answer to, especially when people are dependent on you. So this storm of submission, you got to always submit. I have to submit to my call. I'm an introvert by nature. I am out of my comfort zone whenever I am before people. But there was no other way for me to get the will of God done than to confront my fear and to deal with my discomfort zone. There's no growth in the comfort zone, and there is no comfort in the growth zone. So you got to make it up in your mind. Either I'm going to be growing and uncomfortable, or comfortable and stagnant. So I have to submit myself. I mean, if you're going to become a master, you got to submit to a coach that'll be in your face. Give me 25. And they'll be pulling some hard things. It's the storm of submission. And I've seen gifted people who don't have the ability to submit, or the willingness, I should say, to submit, and they end up being kicked out of a program, kicked out of the military, losing a job opportunity because they haven't learned how to deal with the storm of submission. There's a storm of silence, there's a storm of separation, and there is a storm of submission. How do you handle those three storms when they come into your life? When you have to bring yourself subject, and let me just say this, the home is the first institution of learning. The home, not the school, not the church. The home is the first institution of learning. And when children don't learn how to be subject in submission to their mama and their daddy, they won't know how to submit to the word of the Lord that comes to them. When God speaks to them, they'll say, Lord, I'm doing my own thing. You know, you can't do this. But when you've grown up in a place to where you learn that at home, again, in apprenticeship, you learn to do by doing. You learn to do by doing. You learn to do by doing. I was wondering, Dad, what's the manhood 101? I was up behind a lawnmower pushing it. And getting up before I went to school to deliver newspapers. I didn't want to do it, but I had to submit to a process. It was uncomfortable. It wasn't anything that made me feel good. But because I submitted that, it built a discipline on the inside of me. I'm just telling you, if you do what you don't want to do, when you don't want to do it, then you get to do what you want to do. My goodness, I'm telling you, there's a reward on the flip side of it.
Thank you for watching Power for Living with Bishop Dale C. Bronner. We pray that this message has encouraged, equipped, and empowered you to live a more victorious life. Join us next time for Power for Living with Dale C. Bronner, where revelation is power. Power for Living.